everyone. Welcome back to the MHP Show podcast. I'm your host, Derek Vickers, and on the MHP Show, we talk about anything and everything that has to do with mobile home parks, operations, crazy stories that happen, crazy stuff that comes with owning mobile home parks. And I'm here with you today with a solo episode. And the MHP Show is on the road right now. We are not in studio, but we're still bringing you heat. We're still bringing you some more fire episodes regarding mobile home parks. And this one is not going to be any different. And before we do that, I want you guys to go check out my masterclass webinar that I did. And that's derekvickers.com/masterclass webinar. Take you through all the steps of how to buy and underwrite and take a look at your first MHP and have some confidence that you can actually send an offer to an owner. All right. So today we're going to get into the show. So the show today is why you don't have a deal. The reasons why you do not have a deal right now. Now, I know there's a lot of people, I get messages all the time. What do I need to do to get my first deal? How can I get my first deal? I don't have any money, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to give you the reasons. And I'm probably going to get passionate about some of these. I'm going to give you the reasons why you don't have a deal right now. And I'm not evaluating you or your situation. These are things that happened to me and why I didn't have my first deal at first. And this actually stemmed back to 2015 when I was underwriting multifamily, when I could have actually done a deal at that point, but I didn't have the confidence and blah, blah, blah. We're going to get into these reasons. So when I started looking at deals in 2015, all this stuff came up, right? And I've codified this now, and these are the reasons. I think I've got 10 reasons here, but there actually maybe be more of these that we'll get off into possibly. So the number one reason why you don't have a deal right now, and I guess this could go with the rest of them, but number one is that your beliefs are all fucked up. Your beliefs are jacked up. And I know, Derek, you're going all esoteric. You're going all stuff on me here right now. Well, maybe a little bit, but this is the number one reason. Your beliefs are jacked up, dude. Like, you think it's going to be hard. Like, you got to get your mind right. And unfortunately, some of that mind rightness, turn that into a noun, some of that mind rightness that you need actually does come with experience. And so it is easier said than done. I will agree with that. And the other reasons I'm actually going to mention here probably actually stem to number one. But there's some that just attribute to sheer will and the willingness and ability to do things. But that number one is that your beliefs are all jacked up. And you're like, well, how do you fix that? Well, knowledge. Knowledge creates more confidence, which then in turn creates more certainty. So if you do that and you increase your knowledge about something, you'll then gain more responsibility over that area, which then will give you more control over that area, will give you more confidence in that area. How do you gain more knowledge? Well, you listen to podcasts, you read books, but in addition to that, you actually have to go out and look at deals. You have to underwrite deals. You have to go on LoopNet. And I get this all the time. Oh, all the deals on LoopNet suck. All the deals on Corexy suck. Well, that might be true. Could very well be true. But that does not mean that you can't practice. When I played basketball, we practiced every freaking day. I hated it. It was never that fun. But in order to get better, we had to do that. In order to get more cohesive as a team, in order for you to become a better real estate investor, you have to learn how to underwrite. You got to learn what a good deal is and what a bad deal is. And you're not going to do that unless you're going and driving deals, you're underwriting deals, you're studying markets. So that's how you're going to fix your beliefs. Like, yes, you could humbug and stare in a mirror and say that you're the best and you're the most confident in the world. Sure, you could do that. Whether it helps or not, I don't know. Maybe it does. But you can't humbug that you're going to be an expert real estate investor and not read anything about real estate. At some point, you got to start learning something. You got to start freaking doing something. All right. So number one, that's your biggest one. That your beliefs are all fucked up. All right. Number two, and here's where I might start getting a little passionate on this. You don't make calls. Number two, you do not make calls. Why you don't have your first deal? I'm just gonna let it sit there for a second. And you're like, oh well, Derek, cold. Oh my gosh, cold calling is dead. I saw some guru on Facebook ad, and he said cold calling is dead. And that was my justification for not picking up the phone, because you picked up the phone, then one guy told you to fuck off, the second guy hung up on you, and the third guy was nasty. And then you see this ad and you're like, oh yeah, now he's right. Cold calling sucks. So now I have to regroup and I've got to go fix my data. I got to get more data because the data sucks. I got to do something else. I got to send mailers. I got to do some tricky texting method, or I have to do this and use this program and this platform. And all that is, here we go. All that is that you justifying not making calls. So the plain and simple fact that you don't have a deal is because you don't make enough fucking calls. I mean, this is the people I see getting deals. Our acquisitions team, we're finding deals all the freaking time. They're making calls. People in my program, the ones that are getting deals, they're the ones that are making freaking calls on a daily basis. And the ones that aren't. Right? I don't give a shit how bad the list is. I don't give a shit how bad the data is. The person that makes 50 calls a day, 100 calls a day, whatever the number is, and the person that makes two and hems and haws about the data and calls five numbers and they're all disconnected numbers and they say, oh my God, all the data's wrong. All the data's wrong. You're never going to find a deal. I mean, it's just plain and simple. So it's the action, something. Yeah, for sure. Oh, I could go on and on about the calls, but that is number two. Like, you simply don't make calls. You could suck. You could not have a script. You could at least just have some inkling of how to communicate with people. You could make calls. You could make, I don't know, 50, 100 calls a day. You could probably find something. You could find something. There's no doubt in my mind if you actually get off your ass and get up and make calls and communicate with people. This is also for, if you're like, you have to call brokers, you have to call wholesalers, you have to call anybody and everybody that can give you access to deals. And you may be scared to call the broker. Oh my God, well, he's going to think I'm an idiot, or she's going to think I'm an idiot. I don't have any deals. It's fine. Fucking call them anyways. I mean, who cares? Who cares? You're going to have to start building trust and credibility somewhere down the road. So this could be a whole show. We might make a whole show on this. But number two reason is that you do not make calls or enough calls. What's enough calls? Well, as many as you can make. I'm not giving you a number, because then you'd be like, oh, Derek Vickers said I need to make 20 calls a day or 50 calls a day. And now I don't have a deal yet and see, this doesn't work. So you need to make as many as you can. Now you're going to ask, well, how many calls did you make in the beginning, Derek? Well, I made, I don't know how many I made. I made as many as I could. And some days I made more, some days I made less, but I made them when I could. And my enthusiasm and my purpose was so big because I knew this is what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to get a deal. So I started to pull in stuff, right? Because I believe if you really have a deep desire and you have decided, like, hey, I'm going to buy a fucking mobile home park, you're going to pull in stuff. You're going to pull in stuff that you need because that fire and that certainty is going to do that. Number 3 reason you don't have a deal yet because you think you can only buy 12 caps, right? Hey, Derek, interest rates are 8.5%, 9%. So my in-place cap rate has to be an 11 cap or a 12 cap for it to make sense. You're not going to ever fucking buy a deal. I mean, just stop. I mean, you can go in the middle of nowhere where the population is 1,000. You can do that if you want. You can probably about find a 12 cap. Maybe now. I don't know. But guys, I'm telling you, like this whole thing, these old ideas of that, you have to buy a 12 cap, it doesn't freaking exist anymore. Why would you want to buy something in the middle of nowhere anyways? It's going to be harder for you to exit that property. I'm not going to buy it because you're like, man, I can buy it at 12 in the middle of nowhere and I'm going to sell it as an 8. I've had people come into my program like, hey, I found this deal. It's a 12 cap and I'm going to raise the rent $25. And then 5 years down the road, I'm going to sell it at an 8 cap. And hey, look, I doubled the value. You're not going to be able to sell that park at an 8 cap. You're just not. You're going to have to sell it at a 10 or 12, maybe even higher to get someone to go to that rural area. You may agree with me. You may disagree with me. But you have to think about your exit when you get into these things. Now you're like, hey, Derek, if I'm making 18% cash flow or 15% cash flow or 12% cash flow, I'm going to make my money back and then on the exit, it'll be kind of a double. Well, maybe not. But you're going to have it's just going to be harder in a rural area. We went outside even the larger MSAs that we own parks in, and everything's a little slower where the population is lower. It's harder to sell homes. It's harder to find good people. It's harder to find contractors. It's harder to find everything. Right. And it's going to be harder for you to find a buyer on the way out unless you sell it cheap enough, like you're buying this middle of nowhere deal for. And you're like, well, I'm never going to buy anything because it's just 5 caps, and Charlotte, North Carolina is just 5 caps, and Dallas, Texas, it's 4 caps. Yes. And you can make those deals work, right? And you're like, well, how do you do that? Well, there's many different ways that you can do that. And if you join my program or click on the masterclass, we can talk about that, right? Because if I buy something at a 5, I know I'm going to be able to sell it at a 5 at another low cap rate. Right. And I like places where there's rent growth. I like places where there's activity. I like places to where I can fuck up. I can make a mistake, but the location of the asset is going to save me if that happens. We actually had that happen in a few of our assets where the business plan for various reasons wasn't executed on like we had initially thought. Oh, the plan didn't work, right? It worked, but it just didn't get executed on correctly. And we're still going to be okay in these deals because they're in phenomenal locations. So if you're just going by this, hey, I can only buy a 12 cap, an in-place 12 cap. I mean, if you find an in-place 12 cap, I'd love to see it. Number 4 reason you don't think you can get a loan. And why do you think that? Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I thought that in the beginning because I'm like, man, I don't even know if I can get a loan on a house. I don't know if I can get a loan on whatever. The credit card company wouldn't give me a credit card. How am I going to get a loan from the bank? Well, the bank, if the asset is good and the asset has a 1.3 and up debt DSCR, then the bank is going to look at that and say, hey, look, this is a good deal. It covers the debt service. It's a cash flowing deal. There's room for upside. That's the main part of the deal. If you have a deal that the debt service coverage ratio is 0.75, the bank's never going to fricking do the deal anyways. I mean, maybe they will. You may have to throw money in, or there's ways around that. But if the deal is good, it covers the debt service well, the bank's comfortable with it, right? Well, you may say, hey, I don't have a balance sheet. Okay, that's fine. If you have $1 million deal and you're putting 300K down, 700 grand, Okay. You have to have that net worth. You can probably find somebody that has that net worth to help you. Or you'd be surprised at what actually you can get with the income if you're a high income earner. Or if you're not, I'm telling you, if the deal is good, you can find what you need. I forget where it was that they said this example, but it was something to this effect. Like if you had a LaFerrari or a Bugatti, okay, let's say you had a Bugatti, you know it's a $1.5 million car. You get an opportunity to say, hey, Derek, this is a freaking brand new Bugatti. It's, 0 miles on it, no water damage, no nothing, right? I'm gonna give it to you for $500,000. You just have to come and buy it in 10 days. I'm not gonna give it to anybody else. And you know that you can go resell that thing for 1.5 or 2 million bucks. You're gonna find that and you're gonna make that happen because if you come to me with something like that, it doesn't have to be a car. It can be like a really home run slam dunk deal. It's going to be easy for you to find the money because you're going to be like, oh my God, like I can do this. I'm going to figure out how to get this to work with the bank. And you'll do that. Okay. Number five, this kind of coincides with number four. Number five is that you don't think you can raise the money to do it if you don't have the money yourself. Now, I'll say this because I've had this belief before. So all these are kind of beliefs. And man, you would just be surprised. You would be surprised at the people that they hate the stock market. They've put their money in a 401k, and all they've seen their 401ks going down in the last 3 or 4 years. Maybe some of them have gone up. But there are people that are looking for alternative assets. And if you love real estate like I do, especially great assets in great locations. I mean, the numbers are there. Real estate increases in value over time. In multifamily, the value of multifamily properties doubles every 10 years, roughly, give or take. Now, with mobile home parks, with this asset class being so undervalued, not as much these days, but rents are still artificially low. The average rent nationwide is still way below where it should be. So the uptick is even faster than multifamily. Like I know just about in any park in America, you can get 10% a year increases, which even outpaces inflation now, or at least what they tell us that inflation is. So, but if you have a great deal, right, and you can, and you're fair with what you're paying your investors, you're going to go find a deal. Now, I got pitched a deal the other day and they're just paying 8%. Now, some people may like that. But you got to pay them 8% and some upside or however you want to structure that. But I think for an investor to be enticed, I think for an investor to say, hey, I need to tell my other friend Johnny about this because this is freaking good. Like Derek is doing well. Like for me in this deal, it's going to be easier for you to get money. But my point, if I don't skip around here, is that there's people that have money that don't know what to do with it. It's just sitting in the bank. You could open your phone and look at your contacts, just for your iPhone, scroll all the way down. I have 2,719 contacts. Now, however many you got, I don't know. But I'll tell you, I guarantee you there's more money in that phone than you think. You just have to be willing to do that. If you want to learn more about how to actually get this power base of investors going, I'll put it in the show notes here. You can download my how to get the freaking money guide. It'll teach you how to structure deals, and it'll give you there's pages on this ebook of how to get this power base started so you can start mining some investors. All right. All right, number six. I already talked about this a little bit in number three, but I'll just mention it again because it is that important. And you think the cap rate needs to be 4 points or 2 points or 3 points over the interest rate. And I get it, guys. Yes, for the deal to work for sure, You're going to want that to be the case, but the in place is different. Like if the in place cap rate's a 5, but you can go in and increase rents, you can go in and lighten expenses, you can go in and bill back for water and sewer, there's tons of management inefficiencies. You may have to look at that and like, hey, what is this deal going to do after we go in and execute on the business plan? So after you execute on the business plan, let's just say you did that in year one and it was a 7.5 or an 8 cap in year one. And then by year 5, it's a 10 cap or it's a 12 cap or even more than that. Because some of the deals that we're looking at in year 5, they're a 13 or 14 cap. Now, would that be worth you buying this deal with a 5 cap? And then you're going to get the bump on the exit if it's a 5 cap and a great location, as I talked about before. But just because it's not a 10 cap in year one doesn't mean it's not a good deal. Does not mean that it's not a good deal. Now, this sort of coincides with this one too. You listen and get outdated real estate data. Sure, 15 years ago, you could go buy a mobile home park at a 15 cap, and you're just not going to be able to do that now. It's just not going to happen. At least in a good location. I'm not gonna harp on that. Number 8 here. So here's one. Because you think park-owned homes are a bad thing. I don't even want to share this with you. You think park-owned homes are a bad thing because there's a lot of deals out there now, and a lot of them come with park-owned homes. As soon as you hear park-owned homes, you're like, oh, fuck it, I'm not buying this one because park-owned homes are terrible. It's heresy to buy park-owned homes. All the deals we bought have been park-owned, and then we've converted them over to tenant-owned. Yes, that's the goal, and you want to do that. But if you're getting in your first deal and you're still in capital multiplication mode, you're going to want to, you're going to have to do some value add shit. I mean, it's just the way it is. You're not going to be able to buy, you're not going to be able to buy the, super stabilized stuff because then we get into the cap rate thing again. You're going to have to buy something with some hair on it. You're going to have to go in and roll your sleeves up and make this deal work. You're just going to have to do it because park-owned homes, if you do it right, if you've listened to some of my webinars, some of my master classes, and I explain this and talk about this, you can get these insane jumps in value really, really fast. Here's an example. There's a park we bought. It's a 2-park portfolio from a mom and pop owner. We bought it for $4.15 million. It's 103 park-owned homes. It was a mess. It was private utilities. It checked all the boxes for parks that you do not buy. The density was terrible. But we went in and converted these park-owned homes, and you're not even going to believe these numbers. So we closed on this park in May of 2021. We executed on the refi in March of 2022. This property reappraised for $11.5 million. And you're like, how is that possible? And this deal on the in place was like a 2.5 cap. Like all of the, the boxes that it's supposed to check, it did not check those. And on every list of, hey, do not buy this kind of mobile home park or do not buy this one checked those boxes. But look how much value was there. Yes, we had some issues with that deal, but it's a cash flowing asset now and it's very stable and it's in a stupid location. Like you'll never be able to build this again. You'll never be able to get a chance to get 2 parks in this location again. So it was all park-owned homes. Now, would you buy park-owned homes and do them the right way in order to get a 3x jump in value? Our investors, it was a 3.87 multiple on capital. So investor puts in $1 million, it turned into 3.8. You think they'd be calling back to give you more money? Yeah, probably. So look, 7 and 8 or sort of the same. Outdated data, and you think Parker and Holmes are a bad thing. Number 9 here. And this is something I struggled with at the beginning too. And all these I struggled with. Trust me, dude, like I'm not perfect. You want to own the park 100% yourself. You want to own it 100% yourself. And I get it. When I started, I was like, hey, I'm getting this bonus from my insurance company. I'll have this much money. I've got, 50, 100 grand. I can buy a $300,000 park. I didn't think about the closing costs. I didn't think about the CapEx. If I would have did that, I might have one park right now or 2 parks right now. Maybe more. But if you think that you have to own it yourself, like, would you rather own one? I mean, how many times have we heard this? Would you rather own 100% of $1 million? Or would you rather own 2% of $1 billion? Like, like it's dumb, right? This one. Don't be so selfish, man. Get some investors, bring some people on, bring on partners, because if you just want to buy one park, maybe you can do that yourself. You may still need to bring a partner. And look, if you're doing deals with the bank's your freaking partner anyways. You're never going to own 100% of it because the bank's in the deal. The government makes you pay property taxes. You're never going to own 100% of the deal, really. So just get over that. Right? Get over that because it's not going to happen. If you really want to scale, you're never going to own 100% of it. The big REITs, I do know some buyers that have been around a while that probably own most 100% of theirs, but still they have people on their teams that are helping them and things like that. So I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, if you have 100 grand to buy a deal, you're not going to get much right now. And if you have 20 people that have 100 grand, there you go. You can start buying some stuff. Number 10. This is a concatenation. I think that's a word. Hold on a second. Concatenation. I think I use this right. I use a big LinkedIn word here. A series of interconnected things. So I guess no, that's not the right definition. Anyways, who cares? So this last one here, or no, I got the word I'm looking for. Yes, an amalgamation, which means the action process or resulting of combining or uniting. This is definitely a LinkedIn word here. This last one is an amalgamation for the other ones. You're being a little bitch. That's the last one. You're being a little bitch. You're not making calls. You don't make calls. Your beliefs are jacked up. You're coming up with all these reasons not to do it. And I've done these things before. I should have had a park 2 months for me searching for one. But I was being a little bitch. I wouldn't put a deal under contract. I wouldn't send an LOI because I thought it obligated me to something. But look, if the deal is good, send out an LOI, put it under contract. If it's a great deal, you're going to figure out that deal. And if it's not a great deal, well, I mean, just because you put something under contract or send out an LOI doesn't obligate you to buy it. If you're like, man, I want this deal, and then you go in and find out there's $1 million wastewater treatment plant issue, well, then you don't have to buy that deal. You don't have to buy that deal. You don't have to buy that deal. So you're not obligated to do that. Now, one thing I do hate, you don't want to be the person that's just putting shit under contract in hopes to retrade people or to just get it under contract. You want to be a serious buyer we've only backed out on one deal ever. When I put a deal under contract, I know I'm getting that bad boy, unless there's something wrong, right? And I'm going to retrade if something is wrong. If there's an issue, if there's a boundary issue, a survey issue, if there's a zoning issue, a flood zone issue, if there's a infrastructure and utility issue, yeah, I may back out or ask for a discount. We actually bought a deal where we found that there was, a pretty big infrastructure issue. Turned out not to be that bad, but we were going to go back and retrade, but we wanted to. This was a great seller, and we just like, look, we're going to go in and pay. This is what we decided to pay. We're not going to do that. But number 10, before I get off here, but you're being a little bitch and quit being a little bitch. Set your time every day. Pick up the phone, call wholesalers, call brokers, call your list. I don't give a shit how bad the list is. Call your list and things will happen. All right. So if you want to learn more about this, you can watch the other episodes of the MHP Show podcast. I'm on YouTube. You can check it out. I post stuff every day. You can check out the masterclass that I did and the ebook. I'll put all this in the show notes here. And if you want to partner on a deal, I'd love to partner with you. Send me a message, send me a deal. If it's a good deal, we can figure out how to make it happen. And then also, if you want direct mentorship by me, I can come in and partner with you and help you buy your first park and help you every step of the way. We can put that in there. You can reach me at my email or shoot me a DM, and we can set up a call. Yeah. And so, look, guys, number 10 is the most important. Don't be a little bitch, and I will see you guys next week on the MHP Show. We have some really cool stuff coming. Some more shows, some deal underwriting shows that we're going to be doing. It's going to be live where people can call in. We're going to have a freaking blast doing this. If there's any guests that you want me to get on the show, or is there anything that you want me to talk about, send me a DM, send me an X. I was going to say tweet, whatever. And then we'll do that. And you can also jump on our Facebook group. It's Mobile Home Park Investing Pros. We're really growing that now. I think our members have increased because we give a ton of value on that in that Facebook group. All right, and so I will see you guys next week. I appreciate you watching and tuning in to the MHP Show. Send me a message. Hey, on iTunes, you can like and subscribe. Please leave me a comment. Come on, man. All right, I'll see you guys. Bye.